Hey YouTubers, welcome to my YouTube channel. I am the Tailorette. Today, as promised, I am going to talk about where I buy my fabric for all of my sewing projects. Now, we all know Joann's just shut down. I'm sure everybody's wondering, how am I going to shop for fabric online if I can't feel and touch and understand what I'm buying for my project? How in the world do you know that when you see a fabric online that that's going to work for your project? It is a constant learning process. However, over the course of 20 years, I feel like I've gotten to know fabrics enough to where it's more of a success when I buy my fabric more than it is a failure. I'll tell you this, there are times I do get fabric in the mail and I go, shoot, that didn't work out very well. More often than not, I'm actually pleased with what I end up buying. Start off with the basic sources that I buy my fabric with. I'm just gonna name off all of the fabric stores that I go to online, and then we'll get to how I decide if it's a good fabric to purchase. So first place I'm gonna mention is Etsy. Now that might sound like a broken record of course, I've searched on Etsy. However, the one thing I will say about Etsy that is really great is you're not only reaching the United States, you're reaching several different sellers of fabric you can get from any country in the world. For one, I will say lace is a great place to buy on Etsy because Etsy has a lot of options and other countries sell laces that are not just your basic American lace. They have more dimension to them. And I bought this gingham fabric from Etsy that I absolutely love. I saw all the stats on the fabric and it was exactly what I was looking for. And I found that on Etsy. I also found my wedding dress fabric on Etsy, my lace fabric, not the fabric underneath. I bought my fabric as a natural silk from a local fabric store. I bought my wedding dress lace on Etsy. It came in panels. It didn't come in like this big piece of fabric, but it came in panels, and I cut the pieces apart and I sewed them onto my wedding dress. Let's just say you can buy any fabric on Etsy, really. You could search anything on their search engine and find it. The question is whether it's going to be the best price or not. So this is why I'm mentioning these other fabric stores. Okay, this is not a fabric store, but I do search on eBay. I have found that this is the best place to look for Indian block prints and Indian saris. Plus, the shipping cost is a lot cheaper on eBay. I found the prices on there are just better in general. And you're buying directly from India. You're not buying from somebody who's assuming they're reaching an American market necessarily. I'm not sure exactly how that works, but I've just found it's a lot cheaper on eBay, and they always have free shipping on there. Other than that, I would say eBay is not really the place that I go for searching for fabric unless I'm really desperate and I am searching high and low for everything. Now, I have shopped on Fabric Wholesale Direct and also online fabric store as well. Those give me my basic apparels, and honestly, they did have more than, say, Joann's had. So if I'm looking for a very specific formal fabric that is a very specific shade and color, I probably would be able to find it from one of those stores. And they might even actually have some real silks or a silk blend of some sort of formal attire. Also, you could probably find some basic white cotton lawn, basic cotton voile. You're just gonna have your basic there. And then they have sometimes they have a few things that are pretty artsy that are fun to buy from there too. Maybe my style is just slightly different and I don't find things on there, but maybe their style on there is more your style and you're able to find things if you know about those stores. But I get my basics, my basic cotton, my basic whites. I buy it from those websites. And I also would consider buying special occasion material off of those websites as well. Also, Stone Mountain and Daughter Fabric. I love that website. They seem to be a little bit more quality than, say, the previous websites that I mentioned. I tend to find a little bit more artsy, a little bit more quality of maybe a store-bought type quality fabric. I find that I'm able to make my clothes look more up to date from that website based on the materials that they offer. And they just have quality fabric. They have dead stock fabrics on there. I think that's how I found out about them. But I've purchased a few things from them and I absolutely love what I purchased from them. They sell Fabulism and I've made a few projects from them. I've made my daughter an Austrian dirndl and I'm going to make my daughter another dirndl for spring. I also made myself an Easter dress from them. That was super great. There's also Mood Fabrics. They have become very big. I feel like I'm just seeing them everywhere and they have everything. You could really type in anything. I think if I'm looking for something that's like a real material, like a real silk, that's the first thing that would come to my mind is let's go to Mood Fabrics because they're going to have what I'm looking for if I'm looking for the raw natural material, or they might even have a blend of sorts. They probably would even have the synthetic as well. But if you're really want it, you're willing to pay the price for a good material, I would go to Mood. They're just really good all around. I haven't purchased a lot from them recently because I just have so much fabric already that I need to go through, but that's next on my list, is to go shopping at Mood Fabrics online. Okay, now I'm gonna get to Spoonflower. I just discovered them. They've been around for a while and I have no idea why I haven't explored them, but I just put in an order through Spoonflower, which hit that subscribe button because I'm gonna have a review on my purchase from Spoonflower and how that turned out. But I love their website and how it works because you just go on there and they have all these pattern designers, like surface pattern designers, and they all post their designs on there, and you can choose from like thousands of designs of any fabric that you want it printed in. So if you want it in linen, cotton lawn, cotton poplin, you can have it in drapery fabric, you could even have it in wallpaper. I mean, you could buy it in any material that you want, and there's all kinds of different styles of designs on there. I ordered a couple swatches and I was super impressed with how the printing looks, but I'm going to have a review on how it is to sew with it, how to wash fabric from them, and how it washes in the wash machine. Also, this is another one of my newfound loves to find fabric is at the thrift store. Now, yes, okay, there's the classic turning sheets into dresses, etc. However, I have discovered that I love buying much larger dresses than my size and scaling them down for me or my daughter, because some prints you just can't find in fabric stores because they have a contract with the actual company that made the dress, and that print is exclusive for that company. So you may not find that print anywhere else. Maybe you'll find it in dead stock, maybe. So I have just been collecting all these different clothes that I love the prints on them, and I'll use them for something, whether it's for clothes or something else. But it's just a great way to recycle things in our very wasteful society, me included. I'm very wasteful as well, but it just feels good to actually repurpose something. And you go into a thrift store, there's thousands of clothes in there and they're all super cheap, and why not just purchase some and use it to create something new? All right, so now to the juicy stuff. How do you know if the fabric is gonna look good by just looking on the screen? Well, let me just say up front here, I'm not gonna have any guarantees because it is a gamble when you buy online. However, there are options to buy swatches, and I know some people get frustrated at that because you're probably paying $10 just to get a swatch, including shipping and the cost of the actual swatch, or it might be cheaper than that. But I will say I rarely buy swatches. I just bought swatches from Spoonflower because I was trying them out and it is a little bit more expensive, and I wanted to make sure that what I was buying was right on target. If you're not very familiar with your fabrics, I highly recommend, as a new sewist, if you are a new sewist, go to some fabric stores that you do know still exist. I know Joann's doesn't exist, but there are still fabric stores out there, apparel fabric stores. Even if you have to travel 3 or 4 hours, I would just go to a really good apparel store and start looking at fabrics that you like the feel, and start really learning the weight of every different fabric and really practicing sewing with all of those different fabrics. Because once you have that knowledge, you'll be able to buy anything online and you'll pretty much hit the target 80% of the time. Maybe even 90% of the time. I would say most of the time I am very pleased with the fabric that I get. Like for instance, I understand the difference between cotton voile, cotton lawn, and cotton poplin, and I know they're different weights of cotton basically. And also it's important to know the type of fiber you're buying. If there's there's a blend of polyester, that could change the quality of the fabric and how it drapes as well. So if you're buying a cotton poplin in particular, personally, I found that a cotton poplin that's mixed with some polyester tends to be a little bit more crinkly than say just a cotton. I think it depends on where you buy it from, but in general, 100% cotton poplin, 100% anything natural fiber is just better in general. But it's important to know how it feels when there is a blend in there. Then you know when you see online, oh, that's 50% polyester, 50% linen. Ooh, okay, I've bought that before and I didn't like how this turned out. So then you know right away, I'm not gonna buy that. Even I've bought things that are 50% linen, 50% cotton, and I've been pleased with that. It's not the full linen feel, but it has the linen look and it has the quality of the natural fiber. And so sometimes I'm okay with buying that for my projects. So it's just really important, really start working with fabric. And here's what I would suggest is if you're unsure about materials, I would actually just invest, maybe start making a little booklet and buy all these swatches from these stores. And you can start a little book of the material, what's in it, is there polyester, write all the stats down of what's in that fabric. And then you can have a reference when you're trying to get a project and you see something you like online, you can go, this is what it's gonna feel like. Of course, I absolutely know that every single different fabric is gonna have its own angle. There might be some sort of polyester, 50% polyester, 50% linen. That's awesome. And I just don't know about it. But it's good to just have a good baseline of what you could be up against if you buy that fabric. One really good exercise I started doing with myself is I would buy a piece of clothing from the store that I love the material on. I would try and guess or figure out what kind of material it was. Maybe I would Google it or I'd try to figure it out. Now, sometimes you can't dictate what the color is. That is the one tricky thing that is not guaranteed when you're looking at the photo. Sometimes your computer might have a distorted screen. However, I will say I have an iMac. I have all Mac products, and I will say their screen quality is, in my opinion, the best. So I've just seen that the Apple screen just captures everything perfectly. So I have not had a lot of issues trying to match colors. Maybe slightly different variants of colors, but when I usually order something online, it usually comes the way it looks through my screen. There are exceptions, of course, but that's my experience. So that is where I buy all of my fabrics for now. I'm sure I'm going to discover other places. One of my biggest places that I want to go and discover is the Garment District in LA. So if you have a fabric store that you feel like I need to know about, please comment below, or just tell me where you shop for your fabric. I want to know where all of the sewists in the US are buying their fabric right now. I hope this was helpful. Hit that subscribe button because I have a video coming out on Spoonflower and how that order went, so you won't want to miss it. Adios, everyone.